Good afternoon. Welcome to the October 22nd, 2019 Glendale Housing Authority meeting being called to order at 3:05 p.m. May I please have the roll call?
Authority members Devine.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Parazian.
Here.
Quintero.
Here.
Garpetian.
Here.
Chair Agajanian.
Present. May I please have your report?
The agenda for the October 22nd, 2019 regular meeting of the Glendale Housing Authority was posted on Thursday, October 17, 2019 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
What's next, please?
Next is approval of minutes.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move for it. Second.
Hearing no objection, the minutes stands approved as submitted. What's next, please?
Next is oral communication. Discussion is limited to items not part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Members of the Housing Authority may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. And the matter may be referred to staff through the Executive Director for an investigation report. And Mr. Chair, there is one card that was submitted.
Mr. Herbert Molano, please.
Good afternoon, Chair Agajanian, members of the Housing Authority. My name is Herbert Molano. Several weeks ago, when I made a presentation before you, I believe you, Mr. Chair, made an expression with regard to a distraught expression with regard to the number of affordable housing units that were being built, how few there were. And when you made that expression, I was wondering how often the Housing Authority reviews the housing element. Is there a month out of the year when you guys dust it up and review to see if the policies of the Housing Authority are being followed? Because you have a document that is prepared every 8 years, and even though the city has a general plan, and this is one of the elements to the general plan, my assumption is that you review the overall goals and to review the past year to see if you are complying with or adhering to the goals of the housing element. Because goal number 3 of the housing element of 2014 says a city with increased opportunities for affordable housing. I also have this particular question because when I requested a California Public Records Act to try to validate some of the information that was presented in one of your the ordinance that was introduced concerning short-term rentals, the information that I requested concerning vacancies and number of units built and so forth, I was given a report by the Glendale Water and Power, a flimsy little report that is, I was pretty aghast at looking at this. It's basically not much information. And I was assuming that the city would actually have a robust report that tells you what is the status of housing in Glendale? How are the vacancies extant? How are they diminishing? How many 2-bedroom units? How many 1-bedroom units? How many affordable housing units are there? Because if the intent is to make the city affordable, then there should be a plan. But in the process of getting this inquiry, I began to look at something that has transpired since the last time I was active, and that has to do with the hotel projects. And I was wondering if those hotel projects, if they are just part of the general plan or somehow they're part of the housing element or some other element. But I'm concerned that, for example, the 3 projects on the 1100 North Brand, the one on Lewis and Wilson, and the one that is being proposed for California and Maryland are significant investments. And in the last one that I mentioned, the city is either leasing or exchanging the city property, meaning the parking lots, for the purposes of a hotel. And I was wondering if this has come to light in the past, whether these lots should better be suited for affordable housing. And so it is my hope that the city gets to review these future hotel projects in light of the need to have the city properties, if they are going to be turned into this type of development, that it be looked at the need that we have and see whether the projects really meet the housing element of the city of Glendale. The city of Glendale demolished, or not the city, but I should say during a long period of time when the population was decreased, We had a loss of about 4,000 families. The housing element says that we don't know why, but I know one reason. We demolished a lot of buildings that were of moderate housing that were built in the 1920s and 30s. There was a building like that close to Central and in California, for example, that I knew well. These buildings are truly the affordable housing stock that you guys have, or that the city has. And I begin to wonder how this hotel project's coming to being, especially in light of the wording that is used in the proposed ordinance on short-term housing, the wording that says how dire the situation is in some communities with regard to safety and health and crowdedness and all of that stuff. But I'm really concerned about this now for this project, not just because of the housing situation that we need, but also because of the massiveness of it and what it will do to the idea of covering California and having a building above California, basically where we actually feel more enclosed and we feel that the sky in the areas that we need to be able to have an expanded view of the sky or the mountains is now being diminished. I just wonder when that element is going to be reviewed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Yes, just for Mr. Molano to know and the public to know that the two hotel projects that you mentioned, they're not on city properties. Both of them are on private properties. And I don't know that we have approved any hotel project on a city land in last 5 or 6 years. I don't remember any. I don't think we have done any of them. And as far as the properties that being demolished, the older apartment buildings, these are not being done by the city. The action is not taken by the council. These are private properties. It was purchased and demolished, and something else was built. And I agree that some of these older properties, they are more affordable than the brand new ones. But I don't want to have this idea floating around that the city is demolishing these properties now, and we're the ones who are building all these units. So we're not involved in any of them. The only projects that city is involved in is affordable housing projects that we purchased the land and we put an RFP out for affordable housing project developers to come in and bid, bring their proposals, and the council decides who to go with, like the 5th and Sonora, which we're going to have our lottery, I believe, this Friday for. So valid points, but they do not apply to what we were talking about here today. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
Also,
Ms.
we
Dion.
don't really have projects coming before us for California and Maryland, do we? I think those were.
No.
I think that the timing right now is to wait to see what the other projects as they're being, there's a couple projects under construction, and kind of wait to see how that goes before bring that other item back to council.
Okay. Oral communications is closed. What's next, please?
Mr. Chair, next is authority member and staff comments, and staff does have a presentation.
Okay. Mr. Ford.
Good afternoon, Mayor Najarian, Housing Authority Chair Agajanian. I'm Mike Fortney, the Housing Project Manager. Just wanted to give you guys an update. We have 2 lotteries for our affordable housing coming up. The first one I'll talk about, it's coming up this Thursday at 9 a.m. The lottery will actually be held in this chamber. So from 9 a.m., and that is for Vista Grande Court. That's the 100% affordable project that the city and the Housing Authority have sponsored, along with Link and National Core. So it's a 66-unit project, 61 bedroom and 6 2-bedroom apartments. There'll be a resident manager that'll take one of the units. There was a resident out at the site, Dora is her first name, 92, 93 years old. She was on the site back when we acquired it over 12 years ago. And so her home was demolished, and she is going to get one of the units that's newly constructed out there. There are also 7 units out there that will be for developmentally disabled. So the balance of 57 units, that will be subject to the lottery that will be held again here at 9 o'clock Thursday morning. Just to give you an idea of the number of applications we've received, I want to give you as close to exact numbers as I can. Total number of apps, 6,635 applications for Vista Grande. When I talk about the density bonus lottery, the number is going to be a lot bigger. Two reasons for that. We've looked back at prior lotteries. Number one, Vista Grande is a senior project versus a family project. We typically get less applications for the senior projects. But also, for whatever reason, we get a lot more applications for density bonus projects than we do our 100% affordable. I guess the idea of an affordable unit in an otherwise market rate project is apparently more attractive to some people. But we have, on the last couple, we've gotten a lot more numbers in terms of applications on those density bonus projects. So again, we got 6,635 applications for Vista Grande. Of those, we had roughly 4,100 that income qualified. And then the balance were either under income or over income, the vast majority of which were under income. Age qualified, we had about 668 folks that did not meet the 62 years of age for the head of household. So all in all, we had 4,533 Glendale residents apply for the Vista Grande. So out of a total of 6,600, 4,500 were Glendale residents. So we did have a number of appeals. In fact, the appeal period for the project just ended yesterday. So I can't give you exact numbers there because we're still processing those, or rather, I should say, Link and National Core processing those. But thus far, they've had 260 appeals, and the vast majority of those have been approved. The folks are typically calling in saying, I misstated my income is actually this. They'll check that is the correct income, or that income falls within the range. Okay, you're approved. You had an application number. That application number now becomes your lottery number, and you're entered into it. And then, so just a small number of appeals have actually not been approved so far. So again, that lottery is going to take place 9 o'clock Thursday morning here. It will be broadcast live on GTV6. We highly recommend folks stay home and watch it on television. Obviously, there isn't the capacity for 5,000 people to sit here in this chambers, but it will be broadcast on live TV. So the other lottery I just wanted to talk about that's coming up, that's next week. This is the 5-project density bonus lottery. Staff handled this in-house. We received exactly 18,414 applications for the 31 density bonus units coming up in 5 different market rate projects. Number of applications that were actually approved were 5,365, denying 13,000. Thus far, we have received 261 appeals. The appeal period ended Friday, although we are still just about done, but we are still going through some of those appeals now, so I can't give you precise numbers. But thus far, the number of appeals have been overturned, and the applicant will be into the lotteries at 100 right now. And then to give you an idea of how many of those folks both work and lived in Glendale, there was 4,400. So that the vast majority of the applications that were approved were folks that live and work in Glendale. We did have almost 5,000 people that live in Glendale but didn't work in Glendale, and then 1,500 that work in Glendale but didn't live in Glendale. So that's where we're at there. 5,365 people will be in that lottery, all of which are income qualified, live and work in Glendale. So what we typically do and now I'm talking more generally about both, what we typically do is we'll pull 10 numbers for every unit that's available. So in the case of the density bonus, there's 31 units, so we'll pull 310 numbers. In the case of Vista Grande, there's 57 units that are subject to the lottery, so 570 will be pulled. So it'll be it'll go a little quicker next week than it will this week. 570. It's going to take a few hours to run that lottery. So then the last thing I wanted to mention before you had any questions, I just wanted to add that Vista Grande Court, almost exactly an hour ago, we received certificate of occupancy on that project. So it is a completed project, minus a few touch-up paints, things of that sort. So with that said, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank
Try
you.
to anyway.
Could you explain why on Vista Grande we have 6,000, I just want you to explain it, 6,600 application, where on the other project you have 18,000
Yeah.
applicant?
I'd be happy to. There's two reasons. The first is we typically do not receive as many applications for senior projects as we do for family projects. The numbers are generally much lower. But also we have seen, and this, we wanted to justify these numbers as well, so we look back at the old lotteries. And we get a larger number of applications for density bonus projects than we do for 100% affordable projects. And it's just my assumption that those applying think the idea of getting an affordable unit in an otherwise market rate project is more attractive than a unit in 100% affordable. And that's just speculation on my part, but we did go back and we looked at the numbers for previous lotteries.
Yes.
I have several questions. Number one, Dora, whoever she is, I do not know her. She was a tenant
Yes.
in a property?
Yes.
Had she been paid relocation expenses?
No.
She
was not paid relocation expenses.
Why wasn't she?
If
We're obligated to.
Had she been paid for full relocation benefits, she would not get the benefit of relocating back into the project.
Okay.
It's
That
kind of
was
a
my-
one or the other deal.
Thank you. That was one of my questions. And you talked about some of these appeals where people have all of a sudden realized that they understated their income or overstated their income and resubmitted something which qualifies them. Are those new income figures taken at face value? In other words, you don't do any background to verify that, but you just say, well, based on what you've written, you qualify now. At some later point, should they be selected, you do the actual income verification. Is that correct?
You have that exactly right.
Okay. And there are individuals who do not work in Glendale and who do not live in Glendale who applied. Are they rejected off the top
No.
because they have no chance in hell of being selected? I mean, is that what we basically tell them?
Right. So there was a preference for live and work in Glendale
Right.
for the density bonus. There was not a preference for the Vista Grande.
Okay.
So that I need to make that distinction. But if you were income qualified for the density bonus lottery, but you did not live and you did not work in Glendale, you weren't rejected. Your application was actually approved, but you will not be in the lottery.
You have no chance.
Because you have no chance. That's exactly right.
I mean, absent, the bubonic plague that wipes out, the applicants ahead of you, you're not going to jump ahead of someone with 1 point or 2 points.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. I can't tell you how much innuendo there is around the community about this whole selection process. It's fixed. Someone that I know's uncle's brother has a connection in the housing department, and those numbers are predetermined. And I know that's extremely, perhaps insulting to your department. I know that we're monitored by HUD, we're verified and all that. Regardless, is there any type of auditing or observation which we are going to conduct to make sure that the numbers that go in the barrel are all of uniform size, weight, and color? Because we're going to have a human being pulling them, right?
We're going to have multiple human beings.
And
pulling.
any statistician could tell you that you need a little nip in the ear or a little bit of heavier weight on one ticket or something, a different color shade, which attracts someone's eye. They will tell you that increases the odds, although maybe very minutely, increases the odds of a human selection. Do we have anybody independent that's going to be sitting there and making sure that everything is done according to the book.
So I could tell you what.
And
we
I know
do
this
do.
sounds silly, I know, but believe me, it's out there. People are out there. And no, regardless of who gets picked, there's going to be stories that go on, and it sort of casts us as not just your department, but the entire council in doubt as to how honest and open we are with this process.
Yeah, we do everything we can to be as transparent as possible. I mean, that's why the lottery is done on live television. We do, in the case of the density bonus, city staff took the lead in doing those applications. We were audited by IPA, everything that we did, everything. It was literally almost a year when the applications for the density bonus project were first started coming in, and to get to this point now, and largely because of IPA being so thorough in their audit of us. So we do everything we can. In the case of Vista Grande, Link and National Core, the developers for the project, they took the lead, if you will, in the application process, and then it was city staff who went in and then audited their process, their office, their entire program. In terms of actually printing the numbers that go into the lottery, they're all going to be printed by our printing down in the basement of MSB. We should get those from them tomorrow. And they should all be the exact same size, same weight, same color. Pam Jackson on my staff and myself will go through those, make sure all the numbers are there, none are missing, and to the best of our ability record that to show that there are no numbers missing.
Who's going to turn the drum?
So we have Link and Core and staff and folks from volunteers. We have, I want to say 17 different people that will turn it and reach in, and each of those 17 or 18 people will pull 25 numbers.
Is the person pulling the number blindfolded?
No. I mean, no.
I'm serious. Listen, as a council, I think we are leading the state, if not the country, in terms of transparency and open government. And everything that we've done, for our lobbying registration, to our campaign contributions, to our disclosure of being in the Elks Club with the person that comes up before council for a vote. Don't you think that the person should be blindfolded selecting the number?
If you ask me.
What do you guys think? I mean, what do you guys, it's out there, they're saying it's rigged.
I think we're going
It's
a little bit,
Yeah, I was-
I know, we're going a little bit
Why?
too far.
Now, it's not even on the agenda, so we're having.
Look, let me,
on the agenda?
can I ask one
This is
question
right.
It's
related
an
to that?
urgency matter. It's coming tomorrow.
One question related to that, and then you
Yes,
can
yes.
you can continue. Mr. Is
Yeah,
is the drum kind of
It's pretty.
like one of those?
Yeah.
It's around here, it's that
How many
golden
And
drum.
it's clear.
Okay,
right?
it's clear. So
people watching
I
lottery
think,
can.
I think they can pull like this.
Yes,
Yes.
and that's typically what they do.
I mean,
They look
it's just,
away.
I think we're going.
Listen, I'm just saying, I hear these things and I know how ridiculous it sounds,
Yeah.
but to some of the people who are not selected, the 5,000 people that are not selected, aside from just sour grapes, any opportunity they have to question the veracity and the integrity of the system, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
And I want to take every step that we can do, no matter how silly it seems, to eliminate any of that rumor and innuendo and scuttlebutt that is otherwise bound to happen. So I just want to throw that out there. It's not on the agenda. We can't give direction, I guess. We can't give direction?
No.
Well, this council member would be happier if we could take every step possible to eliminate. Are we all invited to attend and stand there and observe?
It's open to the public.
Yeah.
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 So, okay, you've got 10 o'clock to 12, you've got 12 to 2, 2 to 4.
Well, I hope it's done before 4.
It's also televised, and so.
Yeah.
For the record, I will not be here.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike. I know it's a
Thank-
big deal, but
I have a question.
we're almost there.
I'm sorry.
And
In 1 second.
That's all I have to say.
Ms. Devine.
Okay, I have a question. You say that you pick 10 for every unit. If I'm number 7 that is selected for a unit, do I have to kind of hope that the first 6 do not get selected? Is that how that works? Do you take the first one?
Right. No, not exactly. So what we'll do with Vista Grande, just to take one example, we're going to pull 570 because there's 57 units, right? And then we'll start with 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll go down the line, going much deeper into their income qualifications, things of that sort, right? So then we will offer up the first person on the list, the unit really of their choice, provided that their household makeup is suitable for that unit. The reason why we're pulling 10 per door is because we will burn through a number of applications before we fill the first unit and the second and third. So what we want to do is by the time we get down the line, we wind up with a wait list of maybe 100, 200 people, so that we don't have to do this all over again in 2 years.
I was thinking when you said 10 for each unit, I was thinking that you pick 10 and put them aside, but that's
Right.
not what
No,
you just,
exactly.
that's just a mass number.
That's
Okay,
right,
That
yeah.
sounds
Yeah.
fair enough.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
More questions?
Yes.
Mr. Garpich.
For Mr. Yeah, a couple of questions. The lottery that we have this Friday and the next Friday,
Thursday of this week and Wednesday
Thursday
of
or
next.
Friday?
Thursday.
See, I was gonna come on Friday. No, I'm just kidding. So I think we need to have chairs in the lobby, as well as, because every important issue we have, we provide some sort of accommodate some sort of a seating for people that show up. I don't know how many people are going to be there, but if they are here, I want to make sure that we accommodate them. So
Duly noted.
I want to have chairs in the lobby as well as the police community room to be available if there is an overflow. They can be there, and we have the TV over there as well. So
That
that's
has all
one
been
thing.
accounted for.
Sorry?
We have plans to do both, in fact.
Oh, you have plans to do that? Okay. And out of the 4,100 people who were qualified for Fifth and Sonora, Vista Grande, how many of them are from how many of them live in Glendale?
Oh, out of the, so, I don't know where you get the 4,100 number. Oh, I see, income qualified, roughly 4,100. I don't have that exact number broken down. We had 4,500 Glendale residents apply. A large majority of those are the 4,100.
But
Your question specifically was,
total applications were 6,635,
Yes.
right? And 4,100 are income qualified.
yes.
So the rest are not qualified because they're not income qualified, right?
No, there was 668 that were underage as well,
Sorry?
that were not of age. They were not 62 years old.
Okay, so the lottery will be from this 4,100, am I correct?
3,500. That's how many will be entered into the lottery, 3,500, which is roughly the difference between 4,167 that are income qualified and 668 that are underage.
Okay, so I want to understand that from that 3,500, what percentage or how many of them are Glendale resident?
Okay. That number I don't have, but I can easily get that.
Okay, I would appreciate that. And also, you mentioned that one unit goes to the manager, right?
Yes.
Out of 66, and 7 are for disabled?
Developmentally disabled. Mhm.
Okay.
Seniors.
So how do you choose those 7 people? How do you choose them?
Right.
Because you
So-
said they're not in the lottery, the 58 are in, the 4,100 are basically competing with that for 58 units. How do you choose who's going to occupy the 7 units?
Yeah, so there's a group called Modern Support Services that Lincoln Corps brought to it. They are tasked with filling those 7 units for the developmentally disabled. I've had 2-3 meetings. We meet weekly, the entire team, and thus far they've had 7 qualified applicants for those units. So right now there isn't a competition for them.
What's the name of the company again?
Modern Support Services?
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Modern Support Services.
Modern Support Services, okay.
Modern Support Services?
Modern Support Services, okay.
They work work for Link, right?
They're independent, but they're part of the project.
And the 7 that they chose, are they from Glendale?
I will follow up with them. The 7, not necessarily that they chose, but the only 7 that they have right now that are qualified for those units. That's the number that they have.
That's why I want to understand that. How do they qualify? They only have 7 or 10 people to qualify from, when I know we have maybe hundreds of people who are in the same situation and can occupy one of these units. I want to understand how do they choose who will occupy these 7 units?
Yep.
When you say modern support services, this is a nonprofit? Is it a private business?
Yes, it's a nonprofit.
Okay, so basically they bring the people that they have or they work with to occupy these units? Or how do
These
they
people had
choose?
to apply for the project, just like any of the 57 that are subject to the lottery. They had to apply, but then they're referred to Modern Support Services. There's a system that they have in place to determine whether they're developmentally disabled or not. I'm not an expert in that area, but they are then tasked with filling those units. And again, right at this point, there's no competition. There's only 7 folks that Modern Support Services deemed qualified for the 7 units.
So from,
Why don't we do this? I'm sorry, this is
no,
going
I
to be a meeting
want
unto
to
itself.
understand this because
Yeah, either we need to like agendize this, and they're good questions. Or we need to maybe have staff go back and do a little bit more digging. I think what Mike is saying is that these individuals apply independently. This firm is used to basically vet them and ensure that they meet the qualification for those 7 units. I think what the information we don't have is how many people applied for those 7 units, and then how did we get down to 7 that are actually eligible. So we'll get that information and provide it to the council, either in memo or we can bring it back to a meeting.
no, my issue is that the lottery process was very clear as to how do people apply for it. This one is the first time that I'm hearing it, that they had to, only 7 people applied or 10 people applied out of 200,000 people we have in this town for the 7 units.
And I don't think that's what he said. I think only 7 qualified under met all the criteria, including the developmentally disabled.
Can you get us a report as to how many people applied and how was the process? Where did we advertise for? How did we advertise that? And can you give us a
Councilmember
briefing
Carpentier,
on
that's
that?
exactly what we'll do. We'll go back, we'll dissect all the information, and we'll send you all that information in a memo format.
Okay.
Excuse me, but if lottery will be held pretty soon, then how that information will help us?
And what I'm referring to is we'll go back and actually take a look at what the question is, how people applied, what the criteria was, the layout of the process, and the specific statistics. I'm fairly certain we could do that within the next couple of days.
Okay.
And the lottery is on Thursday, day after tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay. We better get this information by tomorrow, please.
All right,
One last question about the
okay. Please.
the subsidy program. That I want to ask that question about the subsidy program. Where are we with that?
Councilor Garpetian, members of the Housing Authority, that program does not have an official start date for accepting the applications. However, our initial plan was to bring it sometime in the middle of November. That plan has not yet changed. We are still shooting for that particular target. If I'm not mistaken, Peter's in the audience. I believe that the application period will be open for 4 weeks or so. So do you want to come up and just give a little bit more information on that?
Chair, members of the Housing Authority, as we had presented to the Housing Authority, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago, the application period will be a 4-week period that we hope to spread the demand over those 4 weeks so we're not overwhelmed. We're anticipating, as Mr. Takhtalian said, starting sometime in November. The location is the Perkins Room. It's currently occupied by the city clerks as they go through their remodel. So our ability to move in there is dependent upon their work being done, and that's why there's no dates set yet.
Well, that is an issue because when we decided to go to this route of having people come here and apply for it, we knew that clerk's office is being remodeled, and we don't know when they're going to get out of there yet. I mean, things happen in construction and things get pushed back, and I don't know.
Mr. Garbettian, as I stated, what we had anticipated was the middle of November. That official start date has not been changed.
I hope not. Okay.
The date by which the city clerk is supposed to move out of the Perkins Community Room, I think, has only been extended by 1 to 2 days. So we still believe that we'll be able to hit that original target. We just haven't advertised it just yet. We'll know in the next 3 or 4 days, just based on how quickly the remodel finishes downstairs. We're really near the tail end of that project.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. We stand adjourned at 3:41 PM. Thank you.